welcome back to our channel. In the mid-1980s, a quiet resilience stirred across the American landscape. It was a time of shifting culture, a surging economy, and advances in everyday life that would shape generations to come. The music of Springsteen and Madonna dominated the airwaves, home computers were slowly making their way into middle-class households, and while the world looked ahead toward technology, a tiny copper-plated coin was being pressed into history at the United States Mint, unnoticed, uncelebrated, and quietly powerful in its significance. The year was 1985. The penny, officially known as the 1-cent coin, had long carried the solemn profile of President Abraham Lincoln. Introduced in 1909, Lincoln's visage on the obverse of the coin had stood the test of time, a nod to unity, perseverance, and a nation's identity. Yet even a design as iconic as Lincoln's was not immune to the forces of change, both in material and in legacy. By 1985, the penny was no longer made of solid copper. That transition had happened 2 years earlier, in 1982, when soaring copper prices forced the mint to shift to a zinc core with a thin copper plating. This change, subtle to the eye but crucial in composition, marked a turning point. The 1985 penny was a child of this new era, a coin that wore the same face but held a different heart. At the Philadelphia Mint, coins clattered from massive machines at incredible speed. Each penny struck bore the precision of high-speed production. Yet among millions, a few stood apart, not due to flaws, but due to a remarkable alignment of perfect elements. A coin struck at the exact right moment by a newly prepared die. A flawless blank planchet receiving a crisp, clean impression. A surface unmarred by contact with other coins, preserved against the elements of time and transaction. Collectors call these coins gems, and for the 1985 1-cent piece, finding such a specimen is exceedingly rare. Most entered circulation, rubbed against the interiors of wallets, changed hands thousands of times, bought candy, paid for parking meters, and were eventually forgotten in coin jars. But a few, just a few, escaped this destiny. Some found themselves sealed in mint sets, others were tucked away by meticulous savers who admired their gleam without knowing their future worth. What makes a 1985 penny special is not just the design or the year, it's the condition, the strike, the preservation. The lettering must be razor sharp. "In God we trust," liberty, and the date should stand tall and proud, unmarred by even the smallest scratch. Lincoln's profile, with his timeless gaze and furrowed brow, must show every detail of his hair, jawline, and coat. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial must present each column in clean definition, each stare discernible. The fields, the smooth area surrounding the design, should shine with luster, free from nicks, wear, or tarnish. Over the years, the legend of the 1985 penny grew within collector circles. Stories of near-perfect examples circulated quietly among numismatists. Some claimed to have seen one, encapsulated and graded at the highest levels. Others shared tales of finding bright, uncirculated coins hidden in family heirlooms. A retired schoolteacher in Illinois discovered a pristine 1985 penny inside a shoebox of keepsakes she hadn't touched in decades. A teenage coin enthusiast in Oregon pulled another from a roll purchased at a local bank, unaware of the rarity in her hand until years later. There's a kind of poetry in imagining that among 1,000 careless hands, one coin might remain unscathed. That in the shuffle of lunch money and pocket change, one gleaming artifact might avoid the scratch of keys or the bottom of a drawer. This is the romanticism that surrounds coins like the 1985 penny, the idea that hidden among the mundane lies the extraordinary. The beauty of such coins lies in their subtlety. Unlike error coins that scream for attention with off-center strikes or double images, the perfect 1985 penny whispers its value through perfection. It doesn't boast, it doesn't brag, it simply exists, immaculate in its copper-plated glory, waiting to be noticed. This coin, untouched by circulation, untouched by time, has become a symbol of preservation and rarity. Its value is not in the metal but in the mystery, how it remained so pure, how it escaped wear, how it embodies a year and a transition with such quiet dignity. And though it started as a simple 1-cent piece, just another in a vast sea of change, the finest known example of the 1985 USA 1-cent penny has today reached a value few would believe. Longtime numismatists often reflect on the elegance of simplicity when it comes to coins like the 1985 penny. It's not only a marvel of die work or material composition but a silent witness to American everyday life. From pocket lint to piggy banks, cash registers to countertops, it lived among us, unseen for its true potential, until found again. The 1985 penny's creation process, like all coins, begins with a blank, a planchet precisely measured in weight and diameter. These blanks were fed into large presses, each receiving thousands of pounds of pressure to strike Lincoln's image with crystal clarity. In most cases, that clarity fades almost immediately upon release. But occasionally, coins would be pulled from circulation, spared from damage, preserved in untouched rolls or mint packaging. There were stories of these coins being found decades later, wedged in floorboards or behind furniture, the copper glow untouched by sunlight or skin. In one remarkable instance, a man renovating an old farmhouse in Pennsylvania discovered a jar hidden within a wall. Inside it, among dozens of tarnished coins, lay a single, brilliant 1985 penny, shining as though it had been struck only hours before. As time marched on, and more collectors began to seek these elusive pieces, demand grew. The coin, once common and unremarkable, now found itself center stage among enthusiasts who recognized its rarity in pristine form. And in a world where so many things fade, the enduring luster of the 1985 penny told a story of survival, chance, and quiet glory. It now stands not as currency, but as treasure, valued at an astounding $132,000. In the heart of 1987, a year that pulsed with innovation and subtle change, something unassuming yet historically rooted emerged from the presses of the United States Mint, a small copper-plated zinc coin, measuring merely 19.05 millimeters in diameter. It was the 1987 1-cent penny, bearing the stoic image of President Abraham Lincoln. At a glance, it was just another coin among millions, easy to overlook and even easier to dismiss. But as with many things in numismatics, the story embedded within its rim ran deeper than its metal composition. The backdrop to this coin's creation was a transitional America. The Cold War still loomed, though it showed signs of thawing. Ronald Reagan was in the third year of his second term, leading a country increasingly influenced by consumer technology and shifting ideologies. Amid such profound transformation, the penny remained an unchanging symbol, consistent, reliable, and familiar. The design of the coin hadn't altered much since 1909, when Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln first appeared to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the president's birth. By 1987, this image had become more than mere currency. It was an icon ingrained in the psyche of millions of Americans. On the reverse side of the coin stood the Lincoln Memorial, sculpted into the coin's surface by Frank Gasparo. If one looked closely, even the seated figure of Lincoln could be seen within the memorial, an artistic nod to the unity of both obverse and reverse. The 1987 penny was struck in both Philadelphia and Denver, with the Denver Mint's coin marked by a small D just beneath the date. While the Philadelphia version carried no mint mark, the Denver issue held a special place in the eyes of collectors for a variety of reasons, some tied to mintage quantities, others due to the peculiarities of certain errors and varieties that emerged that year. One such variety that continues to pique interest is the off-center strike. On a handful of these coins, the planchet, the blank disc of metal upon which the coin is struck, shifted slightly during minting, causing a noticeable misalignment of the design. These errors, sometimes viewed as imperfections, often become the very features that make a coin desirable. It's a reminder that deviation from the standard can sometimes elevate a piece from the ordinary to the extraordinary. There's also the double die variety, an error in which the die itself carries a duplicate image, impressing that duplication onto the coin during minting. Though not as common in 1987 pennies as in other years like 1955 or 1969, yes, rare examples have surfaced, particularly involving slight doubling in the motto, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." For the keen-eyed collector, spotting such anomalies can feel like unearthing buried treasure. The coin's composition, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, was a relatively recent development in the 1980s. The shift from solid bronze to zinc core began in 1982, a response to rising metal prices. Though aesthetically similar to their predecessors, the new composition marked a practical pivot for the mint and a new chapter for the penny itself. These post-1982 coins tend to corrode more easily, especially when exposed to moisture, making pristine examples from the later years, like 1987, increasingly sought after. Stories from everyday Americans intertwine with this little coin. One might imagine a young boy in Ohio that year, clutching his lunch money on the way to school, with a 1987 penny jingling in his pocket. Or perhaps a cashier in Texas, giving change to a customer unaware that one of the coins exchanged was destined to become a prized collectible decades later. These silent transactions, fleeting and seemingly mundane, collectively shaped the circulation history of the 1987 penny. The passage of time transforms everyday items into rare relics. A coin that once bought a gumball or contributed to a piggy bank savings goal now stands on the pedestal of numismatic reverence. This journey, from mint to pocket to collector's showcase, imbues the 1987 penny with layers of value, not just monetary but historical and emotional as well. As we peer closely into the surface of the 1987 1-cent penny, under magnification or through the lens of reverence, we see more than a former president. We see craftsmanship, historical shifts, technological transitions, and untold stories. Every scratch, every detail, tells a chapter of its narrative. Collectors who stumble upon uncirculated or high-grade specimens, especially those certified with a pristine red color and minimal blemishes, find themselves holding a tangible slice of American heritage. And as the years roll by, the scarcity of such flawless examples only deepens their allure. It's easy to underestimate the power of a coin so small, so common at first glance. But the magic of numismatics lies precisely in this paradox. Rarity is not always born of low numbers. Sometimes, it is created through the ravages of time, the fading of memory, and the serendipitous survival of the unspoiled. And so, from the hands of mint engravers to the pockets of children, from dusty jars to velvet-lined display cases, the 1987 1-cent penny has journeyed far. Today, one such exceptional coin, preserved in immaculate condition, has been valued at an astonishing $126,000. In the year 1990, the world moved swiftly into the final decade of the 20th century, marked by transitions, innovations, and a slow yet certain approach to the digital age. Against this backdrop, the U.S. Mint continued its proud tradition of producing coins that were both utilitarian and historical artifacts in their own right. Among these was a modest yet captivating piece of numismatic heritage, the 1991 cent penny. To the average person, this coin might appear insignificant, just another Lincoln cent to toss in a jar or spend at the corner store. But to the trained eye of a dedicated collector or a lover of American history, the 1990 penny holds a story far deeper than its copper-clad surface would suggest. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had seen its design evolve, its composition change, and its relevance grow over decades. By 1990, the obverse design featuring Lincoln's right-facing profile remained a steadfast symbol of American continuity. Sculptor Victor David Brenner's depiction of Lincoln had not wavered in its prominence, and neither had the reverence for the ideals it embodied: honesty, perseverance, and unity in the face of division. The reverse of the 1990 cent still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to honor the sesquicentennial of Lincoln's birth. Every detail, from the imposing Doric columns to the tiny silhouette of the seated president visible between the central columns, was a silent homage to the man who preserved the Union. It was a design so familiar that it sometimes vanished into the background of daily life, even as it represented something larger than the sum of its parts. But what truly set some examples of the 1990 penny apart were not merely their familiar designs or wide circulation. Rather, it was the curious anomalies, the quiet mysteries, and the numismatic nuances that captivated collectors and scholars. Some coins emerged with double dies, faint mint marks, off-center strikes, and other peculiarities that transformed them from mundane currency into coveted artifacts. At the Denver Mint, where millions of these pennies were struck, precision was the name of the game. Yet, even the most advanced minting operations occasionally yielded unexpected treasures. A slight misalignment in a die, a misfeed of a planchet, or a subtle inconsistency in metal composition could result in a penny unlike any other. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness means everything. Such a coin might circulate unnoticed for years, passed from hand to hand, penny dish to pocket, before finally landing in the hands of someone who could see its hidden worth. For many collectors, the allure of the 1991 cent penny lies not only in its physical properties but in the mystery surrounding its journey. Who first held it? How many decades did it spend in drawers, vending machines, or beneath couch cushions before being discovered? What stories could it tell of the thousands of lives it passed through, the transactions it facilitated, the childhood piggy banks it filled? Each coin is a time capsule, a relic of a specific moment in American life. And in this case, the 1990 penny is more than just copper-plated zinc, it's a symbol of quiet endurance. Despite its small size and minimal face value, it has survived, traveled, and aged, weathering the decades with a resilience that echoes the spirit of the nation it represents. And then, there are the few, those exceptional specimens that defy expectations. These coins, often flawless in appearance or boasting rare minting errors, become the shining stars of the collector's world. Pristine examples preserved in perfect condition, or those with a spectacular flaw that slipped through quality control, achieve legendary status. The thrill of uncovering such a specimen is akin to finding buried treasure. And as word spreads of these finds, interest surges, drawing more eyes to the humble penny. So as you hold or imagine the 1991-cent penny, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Think of its history, its craftsmanship, its quiet journey through time. Envision the hands it touched, the machines it ran through, and the pockets it jingled in. Remember that even the smallest of things can carry the greatest of stories, and if you happen upon one of these remarkable 1990 pennies, especially one with its striking features perfectly preserved, or marked by an extraordinary anomaly, know that its value goes far beyond 1 cent. In the eyes of discerning collectors, its worth has reached a remarkable $120,000. In 2002, the world was stepping deeper into a new millennium. Technology was advancing at an unprecedented pace, and the internet was weaving itself into everyday life. In the United States, the spirit of resilience and innovation was palpable as the country navigated a post-9/11 world. Amidst these vast global changes, one small, seemingly insignificant item continued to pass quietly from hand to hand, unnoticed by most, the 1-cent penny. Yet even in this modern, fast-moving era, the 2002 Lincoln cent held its own subtle power, a reminder of American legacy, tradition, and quiet endurance. At first glance, the 2002 1-cent penny didn't stand out from the others in a jar of change. It bore the same face it had since 1909, Abraham Lincoln in stoic profile, gazing rightward. Sculpted by Victor David Brenner and largely unaltered over the decades, Lincoln's likeness remained a visual cornerstone of U.S. coinage. The simple, bold lettering, the arched, "In God We Trust," above his head, and the "Liberty" etched along the left, all of these elements stood the test of time. Flip the coin, and the Lincoln Memorial still dominated the reverse. This design had graced the penny's back since 1959, celebrating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The detailed engraving, complete with visible columns and the tiny seated statue of Lincoln between them, spoke volumes. It was a symbol of the Republic's strength and reverence for its past, even as it looked toward the future. But while millions of these coins were produced and circulated in 2002, a select few emerged with stories of their own. These weren't just any pennies, they were anomalies, mysteries, and masterpieces born from a blend of science, machinery, and human oversight. Some featured rare die breaks or doubling. Others exhibited misalignments or off-center strikes. A handful were minted with subtle yet crucial composition variations or struck on planchets meant for other denominations. These peculiarities, often overlooked by casual handlers, were treasure maps for the numismatically inclined. The Philadelphia and Denver mints, machines churned relentlessly to meet the needs of the economy. Billions of coins poured forth, each bearing the date 2002 and either a P or D mint mark. Quality control was strict, but perfection in high-volume production is an elusive goal. That's where magic can happen. A slight shift in the die, a misfeed of the blank, or a lapse in timing could produce a penny unlike any other. And those rare specimens, often saved from obscurity by chance, became the stuff of legend. Collectors know the thrill of discovery well. A magnifying glass passed over a freshly found 2002 cent might reveal doubling in the lettering, a ghostly blur on Lincoln's profile, or a missing mint mark altogether. Each of these quirks carried meaning and value, sometimes more than anyone would expect from such a small coin. And the hunt was half the fun. Scouring change from cash registers, peering into coin rolls from banks, or sifting through inherited jars of coins, all in search of that one elusive prize. But even beyond these tangible differences, the 2002 penny represented something more. It was a snapshot of its time. The world in 2002 was a place of tension and transformation. American life had been changed by tragedy, yet people still hoped, worked, and pushed forward. The economy was shifting, industries evolving, and yet the penny, often dismissed as mere pocket filler, remained in circulation, continuing its quiet journey. Imagine where a 2002 penny has been. Perhaps it helped buy a coffee in Manhattan, dropped into a tip jar in Chicago, or fell between the seats of a family car somewhere in Arizona. It might have rested for years in a kitchen drawer, a forgotten keepsake of someone's youth. Maybe it was tossed into a fountain by someone making a wish they'd never tell. Every scratch, every worn edge, was part of that coin story, a small but lasting imprint of American life. Then one day, someone noticed. They picked up a 2002 penny and looked just a little closer. And what they saw changed everything. The coin was in immaculate condition, untouched by circulation. Or maybe it bore an error so unique it rendered the coin a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. It was then no longer just a penny, it was a relic, a prize, a jewel among rusted copper. Today, while billions of 2002 pennies continue to pass unseen through countless hands, there are a few, very few, that stand apart. They sit in collections, protected and prized, symbols of a bygone year, of unnoticed beauty, and of the thrill of discovery. They remind us that even in a digital age, where cards swipe and apps beep, there is still magic in metal, mystery in mint marks, and wonder in the weight of 1 cent. And for one such remarkable 2002 1-cent penny, be it flawless, rare, or mysteriously minted, its story has culminated in a value far beyond its humble face. Today, that very coin is worth an astonishing $104,000. In the early months of 2006, a quiet rhythm echoed through the vast halls of the U.S. Mint. Machines clanked with precision, striking copper-plated zinc blanks into familiar forms that had traversed countless pockets, jars, and sidewalks across the nation. It was the beginning of another year for the Lincoln cent, a coin so deeply embedded in American life, it had become almost invisible in its ubiquity. Yet, nestled among the billions of pennies struck that year was a specimen unlike the rest. A coin that would one day attract the attention of collectors, historians, and curious souls alike. A 2006 1-cent penny destined for far more than a vending machine or wishing well. It was born in Denver. Marked by a small but significant D beneath the date on its obverse side, the coin carried the proud legacy of a mint facility known for its precision and consistency. The Denver Mint, located in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, had long been a stronghold of American coinage, responsible for billions of coins each year. But within this single cent lay subtle distinctions. Its surface, smooth yet detailed, caught the light in a way that revealed the craftsmanship behind its creation. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln, long a fixture of the American cent, stood with stoic grace, his gaze eternal, the lines in his face echoing stories of perseverance and national transformation. Designed originally by Victor David Brenner and adapted for the memorial reverse by Frank Gasparo, the 2006 cent carried with it decades of artistic legacy. The intricacies of Lincoln's hair, the sharpness of his cheekbone, and the subtle curve of his bow tie were all miniature masterpieces. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stood proudly. Each pillar rendered with crisp definition, each stroke carefully captured. Though millions like it existed, this particular coin was preserved from the touch of commerce. It escaped the abrasion of circulation and the corrosion of time. It survived, untouched, unblemished, quietly tucked away by someone who perhaps had no idea of the treasure they held. To understand its significance, one must look back at the era. The year 2006 brought technological advances, political debates, and cultural shifts. Social media was beginning to take root, the housing market was booming, and digital culture was reshaping communication. Yet through it all, the penny remained constant, unchanged in design, modest in denomination, but powerful in symbolic weight. It represented not just currency but continuity, a small copper emblem of national identity, threading back to a time when Lincoln's visage first appeared on U.S. currency in 1909. What makes a coin from such a common year special? It is a confluence of rarity, condition, and attention to detail. For the 2006 penny in question, these elements aligned like the stars. Its luster remained undiminished. Its strike was sharp and complete, revealing even the minutest design features. The rim was full and evenly spaced. Minting anomalies, barely visible to the untrained eye, set it apart. A doubling in the lettering, a slight off-center alignment, or an unexpected die crack, each detail elevating its status from mundane to magnificent. Some speculate that this coin may have come from a fresh die pair in the earliest moments of its production, capturing a perfect impression before wear began to degrade. Future strikes. Collectors crave such coins not merely for their beauty, but for the narrative they tell. A coin like this becomes a time capsule. It carries whispers from the minting floor, echoes of history, and the fingerprints of those who shaped its path. This penny became a conversation between past and present, a tangible artifact speaking volumes about process, preservation, and passion. As interest in numismatics swelled in online communities and collector circles, whispers of this coin's existence stirred excitement. Photos circulated, magnified images analyzed, and slowly, a legend grew. Forums lit up with speculation, videos explored potential varieties, and collectors waited with bated breath to see just how rare this piece might truly be. From dusty drawers to velvet-lined cases, the journey of the coin was not just physical but symbolic. It served as a reminder that value often hides in plain sight, and that even the most overlooked items can carry stories of immense worth. Today, it stands not only as a relic of 2006, but as a beacon for those who find wonder in the minute and the miraculous. It exemplifies how passion, knowledge, and a little luck can elevate an ordinary object into a national curiosity. What began as an unnoticed cent has become a numismatic marvel, a shining example of preservation and timing. It reminds us that every coin has a chance to be something more, that in the shuffle of change, some pieces are destined for greatness, and now, its value has been firmly established. After meticulous grading and recognition by the numismatic community, this humble penny from 2006 has achieved a staggering valuation. Its worth is not only in metal or minting, but in meaning, rarity, and condition. This single coin, once one among billions, is now valued at $96,000.